For Part 1 of the Level 2 Speaking and Listening Assessment, you will need to give a presentation. Your presentation should be a minimum of 10 minutes and a maximum of 20 minutes long, and that's including questions from the audience. Planning well could help you to feel more relaxed during your presentation. Try to speak calmly and slowly. Try to give your presentation to the whole room and not just to part of it. Visuals and PowerPoints could make your presentation more interesting. Try not to cover too much in your presentation, otherwise your audience will switch off. Make it relevant to them to keep their attention. Choose a topic you're interested in and that you could talk about with a friend. For example, you could talk about a hobby, a fitness activity, or an organisation or charity that you're involved with. Now think of 5 or 6 points you could include in your talk and get them down on paper. Decide on the best order for your main points and make brief notes to expand on each one. Now you've decided what you're going to talk about, you need to think about how to organise your presentation. Introduce yourself and the topic of your presentation. Outline the points to be covered. Next, speak briefly about each point. Give examples and use evidence, then sum up your main points, and finally ask if there are any questions. Finally, decide which expressions that you're going to use in your presentation and where you will use them. For introductions, you could use, "Good afternoon, everyone. My name's, and I'm going to talk to you today about," and then your topic. Or you could say, "Okay, let's start by looking at," or "In my presentation today, I'm going to look at," and then talk about the topic. You can link one idea to another by saying, "Now I'd like to move on to the next part of my presentation, which is," or "This leads to my next point," or "This brings us to the final part of my presentation today," and then carry on. For your conclusion, you could say, "Right then, as I hope I have shown you this morning, it's clear that," or you could say, "That brings us to the end of my presentation today. Thank you very much for listening, and does anyone have any questions?" Or, to sum up then, feel free to bring in some props. For example, if your presentation is on baking, you can bring in a cake. You could bring some music or show a video. You could also use PowerPoint and give out handouts. Just remember that you want people to be interested and engaged in what you're saying.